Okay, everybody, welcome back to another episode of In the Studio with Brad, where I will be sitting here drawing and talking to you. And we've got something new this week. Yes, we have a box full of questions and fun facts you can ask Brad. And jokes. Uh, Content warning. If you are triggered by dad jokes, you might want to sit this session out, because even though I consider myself the master of bad jokes, my wife found an entire archive on the internet of 990 dad jokes. Consider yourself warned. Okay, guys? These are jokes I wouldn't tell myself, if that gives you an idea of how bad they are. Okay. So, and yes, mixed in with that is also a whole bunch of Halloween jokes and random facts of an extremely random variety. Like I said, consider yourself warned. So, what have I been up to the past week? First off, here is the final kind of the illustration I was working on last Monday. Somehow I managed to lose the actual original in the chaos of my studio space, but this is how it ended up coming out. I don't know whether you can see too well, but I went in and used a mechanical screen in Photoshop to create kind of a white dot pattern over the ghost, or the whatever the hell this thing is. So there you go. That will be available for this coming year's DCC yearbook for all you Shutter Mountain fans. Okay. Also, I knocked this out this past week for Crypt of the Devil Lich. This is I think it's the magical item that is part of the quest for the players. So this will be something for you to keep an eye out for in Crypt of the Devil Lich. I'm sure you'll all be buying that. Now, on to this week's job. I've been razzing Joseph that I wanted to do something horror-oriented for Tales of the Magician's Skull. So he found a short but very nasty little story, and he said, this would be perfect for Brad. Send it to me, and I came up with this sketch. Kind of did a Philippe Drouillet-inspired border around it. And then you see all this, which is just a light sketch. This will be the main illustration, obviously. And just to show you how you can cheat creatively, this is part of the border. What I will do of it when I'm done with everything else, I'm going to go ahead and ink this, and I'll probably use the light table for it, and a whole lot of circle templates and such. And then I'll basically copy and paste and do some alterations to make the border, rather than trying to draw all of this and hope that I can get it exactly right. I have confidence in my abilities as an artist, but not that much confidence. So here is the picture blown up for drawing size. And I'm going to do this piece as a scratchboard. So I'm going to keep this here as reference. Now, what you probably can't see, well, you can kind of see some of the details here with the glare. I basically kind of traced the image, and now that gives me my idea of where the line work should go. So I guess it's time to get to it, and let's see how far we can get in 1 hour on a scratchboard piece. Okay, Be very careful with these tools, Brad. They're extremely sharp. You really don't want to put an eye out. As I think I have explained before, the big thing with Scratchboard is you're basically working in reverse. So you're actually scraping away to get all of the light and leaving the dark. There we go. Oh, before I can forget, for those of you who are regular watchers, we will not be here next week because at this time, Manly, Mike Curtis, has his podcast, or would you want to call this a podcast? It's not quite a podcast, it's a Zoom show, excuse me.
It's kind of like a news thing. So it replaces the What's New with Goodman Games. So tomorrow night, or not tomorrow night, next week, next Monday at 8 p.m. will be the Mauve Mike. So if you want to hear about
The Mauve Mike.
yeah, if you want to hear
That's
about
right.
news for what's coming down with DCC, very similar to what's coming down the 5e Pike that Chris Doyle does.
Okay. I couldn't remember the exact name off the top of my head. And then also we will not be here for the 27th of December because some of us will be just coming back from Christmas and hold on just a second. Somebody's frantically talking at me. Sorry about that, folks. I still have my Facebook open. Come on. What is wrong with this bloody thing?
Since you're over there, why don't you give
Sorry.
us one of those random jokes?
Okay, we will give you a random joke here.
Or fact, whatever you pull out of that hat.
I have no bloody clue what I'm pulling out yet. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. To keep from drifting apart, sea otters hold hands while they sleep. Gosh, doesn't that give you a warm, fuzzy feeling? Kind of like, when you've eaten mushrooms that have been at the back of the fridge for entirely too long. So, oh, wait a minute, that's a fuzzy, that's nauseous. Same difference. Oops. Okay. Yeah, starting to using Scratchboard is kind of an evolving learning process. I actually have some carbon paper here, but I didn't use it properly. I think we're doing fairly good on this so far. Here we go. Let's try one of the other tools. This tool set, by the way, is brand new, so some of it's still kind of like, what on earth? How does this actually work? So it's kind of a learning process for all of us here tonight. This looks like a little rake with multiple prongs, almost like maybe like a little fork. And supposedly you're able to use it for quick cross-hatching effects. Not quite sure about this. Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be more tearing the paper than anything else. So I think I'm just going to go back to my normal tool. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do for my next Scratchboard piece, I will use the carbon paper to transfer the basic image per se, and then I will actually use, but then I will go ahead and do like I've done in the other pieces where I just put the ink where I think it needs to go, because this is making a little bit of difficulty trying to figure out exactly where some of this line work should be. So, any questions from the peanut gallery yet?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
Joan did share her excitement earlier.
And yes, Joan, this is one of your pieces, one of the ones from the pack that you sent me. So thank you very much. This stuff is really high quality. It's just a matter of getting back used to using it. Sometimes over the course of doing a Scratchboard piece, you just have to kind of brush away the excess scraping stuff. Otherwise, you're risking it starting to try to redeposit onto the paper. Oh, hey, look at that. Hold on just a second, people. I thought that maybe the manufacturer had screwed up and not sent everything that they were supposed to, but it turns out that in fact, two of the tools had just kind of gotten wedged together. So there we go. I think there we go. This is actually the main tool that they usually recommend for using with Scratchboard with. Come on, there we go, guys.
Joan has redeemed another 1,000 points for random joke or random fact from your many wonders.
Okay. Drum roll. Polar bears have black skin, and actually their fur isn't white. It's see-through, so it appears white as it reflects light. I could make a joke about lingerie right now, but I think I'll pass. Because I don't think any of us really want the visual of the Coca-Cola polar bears in Victoria's Secret.
And now we're all thinking it. Thanks, Brad.
You're welcome. I mean, Scratchboard does give you some incredible effects, but like every other art medium, it takes time and practice. And, quite often commercial artists don't really have that much time to just go like, I think I'm going to master a new medium this week. As I think I've mentioned before, you always feel like the deadline is chasing you or you're chasing the deadline. And once you actually get to being to the point where you're doing this for a living, you also find yourself in the not always enviable position of where's my next job going to come from? Before I started doing most of my work just for Goodman Games, I would sometimes spend upwards 10, 15, 20 hours a week just hunting new jobs. And the thing is that, at the same time, since you're spending all your time hunting jobs just to, make rent and such, you're not having time to just kind of experiment and try to grow as an artist. It's kind of a sticky situation because you want to grow as an artist. Otherwise, what's the point? But at the same time, like I said, the reality is that, sometimes you get stuck just having to do a lot of boring real world kind of stuff. Sending out invoices, social media posts, checking the different websites that where companies look for work, so on and so forth. And also schmoozing. Just like spending time at a gaming convention or any business convention, I suppose. Most of my experiences with gaming conventions. A lot of business gets done over a pitcher of beer. There we go.
I do have a question that is posed by Grape Ape. He posed it to Jess, but I'm going to ask you. Do you think this
Okay.
type of drawing is harder or easier than pen drawing?
It is harder, but the effects, I think, are worth the effort. Especially if you want to give a real vintage look to the artwork. Not very many people work in Scratchboard anymore. So you see a Scratchboard piece and it automatically kind of takes you back to an entirely different era of the publishing industry. It's probably hard to believe in today's hectic publishing schedules, but there was a time when magazines and books and comics, didn't come out every month. Uh, a lot of the most legendary comics and magazines were quarterlies or less. If you go back to say some of the old issues of say Action Comics to jump over to a completely comics related metaphor, you notice that they weren't marked as March or such. Quite often they were marked as the spring issue. The nice thing was that actually gave some of the writers and artists time to kind of breathe a little bit and spend a little bit more time working on trying to produce really quality stuff. Let's see if I can get. I have a feeling I'm not going to be using this tool too often. It just doesn't seem to really do much of anything.
Is there a seal or some type of varnish that you can put over the piece to protect it from random scratches once you're finished?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I've got some, I think right here. Yep, Tough Film Final Fixative for pastel, charcoal, and pencil non-yellowing, but I have a feeling it would work just as well with Scratchboard. You'll have to excuse me, folks, if I'm not quite as chatty tonight as I kind of referenced in that reply to Grape Ape a few minutes ago. This is a little bit harder, and I'm not quite as to the point where I can just muscle memory my way through a piece. So I'm actually having to think exactly about what I'm doing at every step of the way here. I think I'm making pretty good progress overall. I can't go into too many details on this, but this is for a really nasty little story. I assume a fair number of you follow Tales of the Magician's Skull, and if you don't, you should be. And I'm going to assume a lot of you are also fans of swords and sorcery in general. This story very much reminded me of maybe one of R.E. Howard's original Conan stories, where quite often they were almost horror stories with a veneer of swords and sorcery over them. It also reminds me very much of the kind of weirdness that Clark Ashton Smith used to like to work into his stories, or maybe a Carl Edward Wagner story. Some of the details of this would have worked perfectly as a vignette for a Kane story. There we go. So far, so good. I'm actually finding I really like this particular blade with the slightly curved edges. I think it seems to work really well, even better than what is generally considered the main tool, what I was calling the main tool. go. So there we go, folks. Hold on just 1 second and I will get it out. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. Yes, I'm drawing upside down for the moment. Ah, there we go. We seem to be getting some good crosshatch potential going on here. Oops. Hold on. There we go. See if I can get the triangle tool to behave itself for a few minutes. Here we go. Just a second, folks. I'm going to do a little bit of work on the actual figure here rather than just the throne that it's on, so that I know where there we go. There we go. So, any other questions from the peanut gallery?
Not currently.
Let's see. Okay, that's my. So here, hold on. Let me see. I'm just checking out. Like I said, I just got these tools a few days ago, so I'm not sure what all of them are to be used for.
Judge Hipmore says that they're mostly just mesmerized.
Okay. Yes, I know. I have such a mesmerizing voice. This one seems to work really well for doing the hair. Interesting. This is a number 3 cutter. Is useful for producing small dots and circles when spun vertically between the fingers to lightly drill the surface. That sounds like a really bad idea considering how thin this paper is. I think I would just kind of like drill right through and probably into the, let me see. I don't think I'm going to do that too much though. It doesn't seem like it'd be a real good trick to do. Oh, that didn't work out well, did it? Hold on. Yeah, that barely scraped through the ink at all. There we go. That's more like it. Okay, there we go. That's got some nice shading going there. If I do say so myself. I don't think I need to say.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Zombie Folly just asked if you prepared the scratchboard yourself. They missed the very beginning of the stream.
Yes, I actually have to do that a couple days in advance to let the ink really, really dry underneath. Because if you don't, what will happen is when you start scraping it, you'll hit a layer of ink that is still wet, and it's, you're going to end up with a mess on your hands. So yeah, they actually recommend to let the board cure for at least 24 hours. I believe I actually did this on Saturday and let it sit so that it had plenty of time to dry. This is another reason why Scratchboard is not really that good for today's publishing world, where sometimes you get a job and they're like, yeah, we need this later on this afternoon. Now, I haven't had that happen with Goodman Games except once or twice, but every once in a while, you get a rush job and you don't really have time to observe a lot of the niceties of this, let alone basically, you know, starting to do an illustration and then having to let it sit for at least 24 hours before you can even start actually working on it. It just doesn't work that way anymore, guys. And that's why you rarely see scratchboard or oil paintings in this business. Oil just takes too bloody long, and you can achieve pretty much all the same effects just using standard acrylics, which dry in a matter of minutes as opposed to, weeks. Just a second, guys. I need to make a slight mark on the actual artwork here. There we go. This way it gives me a better idea of where to draw or not. There we go. Sorry, brain fart. What I really need to do is I need to research a little bit more and see and find out if there is like some special ink that really, really works best with Scratchboard. I really don't know. Knowing my luck, if there is, it's probably like $100 an ounce or something. Okay, now I have a clearer idea of the edge of the illustration. There we go. Okay, now back to work, guys.
Joan has redeemed yet another random Joker fact.
Okay, hold on just a second, Joan. I just want to finish this little detail here while I'm thinking about it. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Come on. I grabbed like 3 of them at one time there. Okay, folks. Are we ready for this one? Which Halloween monster is the best math student?
I don't know, Brad. Which one?
Count Dracula.
Ah, ah, ah.
Like I said, only the finest in dad jokes here. By the way, those everyone sitting at home groaning and like, where in God's name? My wife found these. I think this would be considered a good exhibit one in our divorce case. Like, Judge, why do you want to divorce this woman? And I'm going to recite that joke, and he's going to be like, oh dear God. So on the other hand, some of the dad jokes that I've inflicted on her over the years, I think this is called just desserts. There we go. One of the trickier parts of doing Scratchboard is you have to think of everything in reverse. So areas that you would normally fill in with, normal shading and such, that's the stuff that you don't touch. Whereas the stuff that you want light, where you wouldn't really worry about drawing into that, that's where you have to do your work. Actually, I think I can need you back over here. Just kind of getting some basic sketch outlines so that I can fill these in later without having to wondering where the hell I'm actually drawing. There we go. That doesn't work. We go. I'm starting to get a feel for this stuff. Let's see here. Now, if you folks at home want to see a real master of Scratchboard, I would recommend looking up an artist by the name of Lee Brown Coy, Cowie. He used to work for Weird Tales magazine. What a shock. I think I might have mentioned him once before, but he really knew how to make Scratchboard absolutely sing. Now, if I keep doing this for about another 30 years, I might be as good as he was, but I'm not making any promises. Oops. It is a kind of funny to me that if I were just doing this picture normally, I'd probably be 3/4 of the way done and I'd be just chit-chatting up a storm here. But because this is a fairly new medium for me, I'm really having to concentrate a lot more, hence the fact that I'm kind of not doing very good on the normal chit chat and banter, making jokes, etc., etc. There we go. That doesn't look bad. Now, how do I want to tackle this? Here we go. It's always a good way to indicate that something's been dead a long time, to kind of draw that the teeth have kind of shriveled and drawn back over the lips have kind of shriveled and drawn back over the teeth. There we go. Go. I can't tell quite whether it seems to work better pulling the blade towards me, pushing it away. It seems a little bit better when I pull the blade towards me. What do you think, folks think?
So I'm being told that you have to do one more random joke or fact before you sign off for the night in the next 4 minutes.
Oh, God, it is almost 9 o'clock, isn't it? Okay. Drum roll, please, folks. One last time. Here we go. The heart of the blue whale, the largest animal on Earth, is 5 feet long and weighs 400 pounds. The whale in total weighs 40,000 pounds. But it's going on a keto diet, so it's planning on being, slim and trimmed down to 3,999 pounds after Christmas.
And one more thing,
Okay.
Joan says that she wonders if there's a difference between how much pressure it takes to pull the tool than it does when you push, and that may be a difference.
I don't think so. I think it's more a matter of the part of the blade that is going up. If you notice, the underside is perfectly flat, while this has a slight bevel to it, and I think that might be having some effect. And some of it is basically just, this is still in many ways a very new medium for me. I did a few pieces for Scratch using Scratchboard for Mythos Alphabet, one for the reissue of Chained Coffin a couple years ago, and that piece that I did maybe 6 weeks ago, but that's almost it. Last time I used Scratchboard on a real regular basis, was still high school. So I've got quite the deficit of learning to get to try and work against yet. And there aren't very many books on Scratchboard that I've been able to find, and the tutorials that I was able to find on YouTube did not help very much. So a lot of this, I'm afraid, is strictly trial and error on my part. I'm making progress, but it's going to be several more pieces before I really get to the point where I can say, yeah, this is just something I can do just for fun. Oh, and don't forget, folks, if you have not already, you can put your name in the drawing for the end of this season, and I will be sending out some pieces. And I think I might make this piece the grand prize winner, because very few McDevitt Scratchboards originals are going to ever come down the pike. So getting one of these would, as such as there is a collector's market for my stuff, which I don't know whether there is or not, but this would make a very unique piece for such a collection. And that is probably about it for tonight, correct?
That is
Alrighty.
fine.
So we shall see you in 2 weeks. I will have this finished long before then, and we'll be on to the next cool project for Goodman Games. So until next time, folks, happy Thanksgiving, happy Hanukkah, joyful Kwanzaa, and Merry Christmas, and we'll see you later.